The Regulating Act 1773. Main provisions. The main provisions of the Regulating Act 1773 may be written as follows. The Regulating Act of 1773 made changes in the constitution of the company. It allowed the company to conduct its commercial and administrative functions but brought these activities under the direct supervision of the Parliament. It made changes in the working of the company in Indian territories. Some of the major provisions and effective changes are as follows. Changes in the constitution of the company in England. In general textbooks, it is titled as Changes in the Home Government. 1. Before 1773, any person who held the stock of the company for the value of £500 before the elections of the Court of Directors could vote in the Court of Proprietors. The Act stipulated that only those members who held stocks worth £1,000 and possessed them more than 12 months before the voting in the Court of Proprietors could participate in the elections. As a result, 1246 stockholders were disqualified from voting. The provision was directed against those company servants who were called English nabobs. They acquired the shareholding and influenced the election of directors. The Parliament had tried to check the disorder which the English nabobs were accused of creating in the affairs of the company. 2. Before 1773, the tenure of the director was for 1 year. The Regulating Act increased it to 4 years. 1/4 of the directors were to retire after 1 year, and fresh elections would fill their vacant posts. The total strength of the directors was kept to 24 members as per the earlier charter. It was expected that it would bring uniformity in the policies of the company and ensure the responsible conduct of the company in India. 3. The Act also stipulated that the company would place all the accounts related to the revenue collected in Bengal before the Treasury of England and the correspondence from India related to civil and military affairs before the Secretary of State. The provision became a major factor in developing the constitution in India. It brought in the role of Parliament in the working of the government in India. It decided the direction in which the constitution developed in India.
Major provisions relating to the government in India. The company's central government in India. 1. The Regulating Act also laid down the provisions relating to the activity of the company within the territories of India. The Act set up a central government for the British territories in India. The government in India consisted of a Governor-General and his 4 councillors. The names of these officials appeared in the Act itself. Warren Hastings was declared the Governor-General in Council. Warren Hastings was the Governor of Bengal at that time. The 4 councillors named were Clavering, Monson, Barvell and Francis. The 3 members, Clavering, Monson and Francis, were public men of England, and they did not have any prior experience of administration in India. The company was allowed to appoint future officers to this government. The structure of the government, as laid down by the Regulating Act, decided the nature of the future Charter Acts. The role of Parliament in the activities in the running of the government of India kept increasing. The company remained satisfied till the end that the power of appointment had remained with the company. However, many Indian historians emphasized this aspect that the history was framed under the influence of the British Parliament. 2. The tenure of the members of the central government in India was fixed for 5 years. 3. The salary of the members of the central government in India was also fixed. The Governor-General in Council was to be paid £25,000 annually. The members of his council were to receive £1,000 each per year. It was a hefty salary in those days. It was expected that these officers in India would not indulge in any type of corruption as they were well paid. The provision proved highly detrimental to the financial health of India as a country. All the salaries of the officers were ultimately paid out of the pocket of the Indians. 4. The Governor-General in Council and his councillors were directed to conduct the affairs of the government by majority vote. The Governor-General was empowered to cast votes if there was an equal division of opinion due to different reasons. The Regulating Act was envisaged with a vision of running the affairs of the Indian government smoothly. But the Governor-General and the councillors never developed a working relations. It hindered the working of the governor. It proved damaging to the interest of the Indian people. Warren Hastings was entrusted with the task of deciding the methods of revenue collection. It was not able to settle it during the tenure of Warren Hastings. 5. The Governor-General in Council and the councillors were empowered to superintend and control the Presidency governments in their relations with the native princes. The Presidency governments were not authorized to start war or conclude treaties with the native rulers without the prior permission of the Governor-General in Council and his councillors. In case of emergencies or under direct orders from London, they could act without seeking permission from the government in Bengal. The provision of the control of the Bengal on other presidencies never worked smoothly. The Presidency of Bombay was more intrepid in adopting its own free course as it considered itself directly answerable to the Crown. 6. The Governor-General in Council was authorized to make and issue rules, ordinances and regulations for the good order and civil government of the Indian territories. However, his legislative acts could become operational after he had registered and published in the Supreme Court at Calcutta. Secondly, such acts of the Governor-General in Council were required to be consistent with the laws in force in England. This provision became one of the major hurdles in the working of the government in India. The first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in Calcutta was Justice Impey. Warren Hastings and Impey were known to each other. However, when under the Regulating Act provisions, the activities of the government were undertaken, a rift developed between the Governor-General in Council and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in Calcutta. 7. The Regulating Act bound the Governor-General in Council to pay due obedience to the orders of the Court of Directors and keep them regularly informed of the matters relating to the operations of the company concerning revenue collection, civil administration, and relations with the native rulers. The obedience clause also became a hindrance in the relation between the Bengal government and the Court of Directors. The Governor-Generals took the benefit of the distance between India and England and exercised their free will in the name of exigencies and emergencies. It became a major factor in the development of provisions in the future charters and later the development of the Constitution. Major provisions relating to the government in India. Presidency governments of the company. 1. The Governor-General in the Council of Bengal was given the power to suspend any offending governor and his council. The presidency governments were bound to show obedience to the orders of the Governor-General in the Council of Bengal. 2. The Act bound the presidencies to submit to the Governor-General in Council of Bengal all the information concerning their government, revenue and information related to the company. Supreme Court in Bengal. Provision for it was mentioned in the Act, but regulated by a fresh Act of the British Parliament. 1. The Regulating Act made provision for setting up a Supreme Court in Calcutta. By Charter of 29th March 1774, 3 assistant judges were attached to the Chief Justice and his court was established. 2. The Chief Justice and assistant judges were to hold office at the pleasure of the Crown. 3. Their salary was fixed at £8,000 for the Chief Justice and £6,000 for the assistant judges annually. 4. The court had the power to try civil, criminal, admiralty and ecclesiastical cases. The court was given jurisdiction over all the subjects of Britain residing in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. It had original and appellate jurisdiction. Reforms in civil services. All persons in the Indian civil service were prohibited from receiving presents from the native princes and the people of India. The Governor-General, members of his council and judges of the Supreme Court were prohibited from engaging in commercial activities or dealings. All the officers of the company were required to submit to the Board of Directors on their return to England a list of properties and sources of their origin.